Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a chill one. We're going to be journaling together, so grab a coffee and sit down. Hi guys, today I was feeling like some chill journaling and I thought I will record this and share the process with you. I'm going to be using my favorite handmade journal, which is now getting a little bit chunky. So what I'm going to do before I start is to open it in one of the internal pages that has been used already, just to make it a little bit more flat. That's going to make it a lot easier to work on it. And then I'm just going to grab a clip and secure those pages. Today I want to do something that's been in my head for a few days, and I want to create what in my head I've been calling a little pocket of treasures in my journal, but it's basically just like a pen pal pocket or something like that that you could use, or that I am going to use to keep something that's special to you. It could be a note, a letter, just a piece of ephemera that you love. So that's what I'm going for today. I happen to have some of the paper that was used to make this journal, so I'm going to be using that because I almost want the pocket to feel like it's part of the page. I really love this paper. It has like very delicate gold speckles. You guys, look how beautiful it is, and it perfectly matches the journal, so this is what I'm going to be using. I am going to take the paper, which as you can see is almost the exact same size of the journal, and I'm going to fold it in half. So what I'm envisioning here is that I'm going to put some decorations on the left page, and the right page is going to hold my pocket. Well, this is going to be kind of a little secret pocket. I still want to create a little window on it, something where I can add some translucency so that the beauty of whatever it is that you have inside can shine through. So the first thing I'm going to do for that is to take this frame stamp, and I'm going to create a window frame that I am then going to cut through and use to create my window. Now that I know where my window is going to go, I want to create a sort of frame around it, a floral frame, and for that I'm going to be using this floral pet tape, which is one of my very favorite ones. And this is going to be really fun actually, and what I'm going to do is just get the flowers or find the elements that I really like and create this gorgeous, almost like wreath of flowers around it that we are then going to cut through. I'm not really sure if I'm explaining that properly, but basically what we are going for is a floral frame. I have my frame now, and there are some lines that I really can't see properly, so I'm just going to very carefully stamp again a very light shape on top, the frame shape, so that I know exactly where I need to cut. And once I have that, I can go ahead and start cutting. I'm using a cutting knife for it. You really want something that is quite sharp. Mine actually isn't. But also don't worry if it's not a perfect cut line, because we are going to be covering that anyway. We have the bones of our window now, and the next thing I'm going to do is take a piece of the same paper and actually cut a frame out of it. So using the same stamp, I'm gonna cut just the borders and then use that to create, not just to cover the perhaps imperfect cut of the window, but to create a bit of depth, because it's going to add some volume to it. It's not going to be flat, it's going to be a bit more textured, and I think it's going to look really nice. I am using the exact same paper just because I have it here and I really like it, and I am going for a vibe and a feeling that I want it to feel very aesthetic and neutral and cohesive, but this is also an opportunity for you to mix up papers and textures and just experiment with whatever you have. You don't have to use the same paper. I am cleaning up my previous cut a little bit more because I don't want any of that imperfect pieces or like the torn pieces to come through underneath. And once I'm done with that, I'm actually going to go back and to the other piece of paper and cut that frame out. Before I cut the exterior of the frame, I am going to grab my scissors and go on the inside and kind of just rub the sharp blade against it to create a little bit of distress on the paper. This paper is very soft, it's almost silky like, so I'm being very careful. That is also why I'm doing it before I cut the outer edge, because it's probably going to bend if I don't do it now. Alright, I have my little frame now that, as you will see, it fits perfectly, or matches perfectly the little window we have made. And now I'm going to move to cover the window before we move to decorate the outside. I think I'm going to be using parchment paper, which I absolutely love. I couldn't decide whether to use parchment or vellum, but because I do want the see-through effect, but I also want a bit of cloudiness in it, so that, you know, if I want to put something that it's private in or whatever, that's going to cover it all. So I'm going to be using a very beautiful white parchment paper. I mean, I really don't know who I'm trying to hide anything from, because nobody really looks at my journals except me. But, you know, that's just part of charm and the fun of making a little secret pocket for your treasures. I'm going very simple here. I'm just going to cut the parchment paper and stick it to the inside of the pocket on the back. Just a little bit of double-sided glue dots. And to be honest, I am not going to bother too much on covering this. I guess if you wanted, you could also decorate and make the inside of the window a little piece for when you're opening it. But I'm not going to. I just want that bit of cloudiness on top, and I'm good with that. Now that we have that window covered, we can go ahead and glue our frame. I am going to use double-sided dots, or actually mine are squares that do have some thickness to it, and what that's going to do is it's just going to raise the frame a little bit from the page or the pocket, versus if we were just using regular glue. And I think it's going to add that depth, and it is also going to create a little bit of space for us to include some decorations in between. I'm now going to place the frame on our little window. Let's see what that looks like. Yep, that looks exactly like what I had in mind, which is not always the case. And I know if you guys are creatives and if you create something, if you draw something, you will know the feeling. But this is exactly what I had in mind. So now we're going to move inside the pocket, and I am actually going to create the pocket. It's not going to be anything too complicated. I'm going to use a little bit of the same parchment paper to just create a simple pocket that I could glue and use to keep my goodies in there. The folder with its pocket are ready now, so let's put it on the journal where it's going to go and see what it looks like. I really love that because it is made with the same paper as the journal. It just looks like it's a part of it. We're going to go ahead, move that clip to the back so I can actually glue this to the journal page I'm working on. I am using a glue stick for this just because I find it works better in this paper particularly, and also because I think it's probably going to be the most durable, because I do want this to remain and be firm on the page. It is not entirely straight and I'm trying to fix it, but I can't live with it. I'm sorry guys, I'm gonna very carefully remove this and then put it back, and hopefully it's gonna be a little bit more straight. You might have noticed now that I'm actually a recovering perfectionist, and I don't say that like it's a good thing, but that's actually one of my favorite things about journaling, and especially creative journaling and playing with paper and stickers and stamps, and is that it doesn't have to be perfect, and you can actually make something beautiful out of the chaos of paper layers and ink and other stuff. And even if it's not perfect and if you don't like the final result, because many times I create things that I just don't like, it's still fun. I am now going to be closing or locking my little secret pocket with a little eyelet. I think that's what they're called, but apologies if it's not, but basically what I'm doing is just punching a hole in both pages, like the journal page in the back and then the actual flap of the pocket. I am thinking I'm gonna go for a nice eyelet, and I have a little bit of some authentic vintage French lace that I really love, and I am very careful on what I use it on, guys, because I just don't want to run out. And I'm sure if you collect stationery, you understand exactly what I'm saying, especially this, because it's a vintage piece and it's not like I can go and get more whenever I want. But this feels like a special page, so I am gonna use it here. Here it is. How cute is this, guys, that it even comes on an authentic French postcard? I just love the fact that somebody owned this in the past and it was part of their life in some way, and now I get the privilege of enjoying some of that and make it part of my life and my journals. I just love anything vintage. Before I fill in the pocket, I'm actually going to decorate the other page, and because I am using authentic vintage lace, I feel like for this page I want to go and dig my collection of authentic ephemera as well, which again, I am very selective on how I use. It's only a small collection, but I do have some pieces that I love, so I'm just gonna look in this box and see what I can find. I'm gonna go with this two. One of them is a show ticket and the other one's kind of like a postal stamp. There's multiple of them here, so I only want one. I'm going to cut through the actual postal stamp because I don't want to damage that, but probably, yeah, I'm just gonna tear the rest of the paper so that it has that nice torn edge. Since we are on the French vintage vibe, I'm gonna go through this other little box I have here. These are not authentic pieces. These are actually for pieces that I've made myself. And I'm gonna see what I can find here. I don't know exactly what I'm looking for. I guess the way I like to do this is just go through my collection. I have kind of an idea of colors, aesthetic I'm going for, and then I just like to browse and see what speaks to me. If you're interested in learning how to make some of your own ephemera pieces, I'm going to link here a video that I made a few weeks ago where I shared my process on how I make them. Next, I am really going to just layer the paper, and I usually play a little bit with the different pieces I have until I find what I like or the final composition I want to go for. There's no science here, although there's definitely no science, but for example, I really like to go for odd numbers more often than not, and I like my compositions to mostly be quite balanced, which means that I try to make sure that elements are evenly distributed across the journal or the piece of paper that I'm using. Maybe this doesn't apply so much to these pages because I'm going for a homogeneous look, a very cohesive one, but also something I like to think is about how I can create texture. And the best way to do that, in my opinion, is just to use different types of paper and different color papers that will contrast each other and actually layer them on top of that, as opposed to, for example, clumping all your white pages or your white papers and clumping all your, say, brown papers, for example, but instead mix them up in a way that are going to contrast to each other. I think that's all I'm going to do on that left page, because that page really is in the center of my composition, I want the frame to be it, and I only want the left page to kind of complement the vintage look that I'm trying to achieve. But before I move on, I'm gonna take some of my very favorite paper. People ask me all the time what this paper is called. I know it as fiber paper, and I don't know if that's its actual name, but I love it. I'll say like 90% of my creative journaling spreads use it. So I'm going to finish the page with a little bit of that paper for texture, and I have these labels which I really love and also have a French theme, and I'm going to use that to join some of the elements together, and it's also going to create a little focal point. I hope it makes sense. I am just sharing my thought process as I go to. This is really how I think when I'm putting paper together and layering it, and because one of the beauties of this hobby is that everyone has its own techniques and there's no rules. So I would love to know how you do that. So if you have any suggestions or anything you want to share with us, leave it in the comments below. Something else I love doing, and that I usually do when I have 2-page spreads, which is mostly what I do, is I like to have elements that connect the pages. So either the same material, the same type of paper, or the same design of something. Guys, I don't know if you can hear that. It's breaking my heart. Okay. You did a poo-poo, mi amor?
Yes, I want my mommy.
I'm just doing a bit of work, cielo. Okay guys, it really is time to give it the final touches so I can go spend some time with my daughter. So with that idea of connecting the 2 pages, I'm going to take a little bit more of that fiber paper and put it here at the bottom of the frame so I can just add a little bit more of that texture. And perhaps I'm going to go with another floral, or let's see. Yeah, I think this is probably going to be a nice way to just bring it all together, and maybe put some of these on the left as well. So that it's all, and now what we have left is filling in the pocket, and I'm going to do so now. I'm just going to put a few of my favorite pieces here. I think I'm going to do some of my ephemera, the one I made, which is this one you can see now, and I'm going to have a look through my collection, but I think maybe I have loads of paper clusters and thank you cards that have been made by other people who are just an inspiration to me, or in this case, this wonderful lady has the most beautiful handwriting, so I'm going to keep them here. But you can really put anything in there, like if you have a letter from someone, if you write a letter to someone that you are actually not meant to give to them, your own paper clusters, your own cards, a little message for your future self to find in the future, anything really. And the cherry on top, of course, is going to be the lace, which I'm going to use to log this little treasures pocket we have made. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a little bow. I think maybe it's too thick for it. Maybe I'm just going to go with just a knot and trying to style it along the journal so that it also becomes a feature piece when the journal is closed, if that makes sense. And here we have it, my own little pocket for my little treasures in my journal. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and for journaling with me. If you give this a try, please do let me know on Instagram or here. I would love to see your take on this. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all very soon.